Hello, I'm going to talk about how to begin pendulum dowsing. This is in response to some questions that I have had on my Facebook group called Pendulum Dowsing and Energy Balancing. And a lot of people are very keen to get going with their pendulum dowsing and what to start with. Well, get hold of a smallish brass pendulum like this, or a wood pendulum, not one of these sort of pretty quartz ones. The reason why you should avoid quartz is that they are too energetically volatile. They'll store energy. They need to be cleared all the time. So use brass or wood to begin your pendulum work with. And the two main mistakes that people make is they start by holding the cord far too long, like this, shorten it right down, and obtain your pendulum response. Now this is a quick whistle-stop tour. There's more to it. I may need to do a follow-up video. But I would start from about sort of like 10 centimetre string and obtain your pendulum response by asking the question, in the name of the highest good, please indicate my yes or positive response. Your pendulum should give you a movement. And in my case, it's always a clockwise swing for me and a negative swing for no. But say that as well. In the name of the highest good, please indicate my negative response. And it will show you. It won't always be the same, but you'll have to experiment and find out your own response. Also experiment with how comfortable you feel with that length of string. The other thing is that people start their dowsing by holding very still the pendulum, when really you want to start it with some movement, because all the movement of the pendulum comes through your body. It's your musculature and your nervous system that is giving power to the movement of the pendulum, not some outside mystical force. It's coming through your body. It's called an idiomotor response. So help that along a bit. I like to swing it along what is for me the neutral position, backwards and forwards, before I then say my question. And I'm just going to say it again, just for demonstration purposes. Please indicate my positive response. Notice you can put something in front of that which you feel comfortable with, such as in the name of my highest self, or I used in the name of the highest good, or not at all. You know, just use what you feel comfortable with. Okay, so that's the two most important mistakes that people make when they start their dowsing. One of the things is about not being able to douse is tension. Muscular tension is always something that causes a problem. So spend a moment just centering yourself, both mind and body. If you know how to do meditation, just do a moment or two meditation. If you don't, just take a few deep abdominal breaths and just relax and let all the tension go, and let go all the thoughts of the things that you've been concentrating on before, or any thoughts of things that you'll be doing later on in the day. Hydration is another important factor that can stymie people's pendulum work. So drink water, keep yourself hydrated. Okay. A lot of the books, I'm just referring to my book, my notes, because I'll be all over the place if I didn't. Don't test yourself, as the books often prompt you to do. And by this I mean putting something under a teacup, moving it around, maybe there's 2 or 3 lined up, and you want to find out where you've put a coin or something like that. The most important thing to encourage within yourself is confidence in your pendulum response. So don't do that sort of thing. There are other things you can do to maximize your pendulum ability without having to test yourself. Because if you get a wrong answer, then it will hit your confidence. And please keep in mind that no dowser, no matter how skilled, no matter how long they've been doing it, will be 100% correct. Your aim is to get that percentage as high as possible, but even expert dowsers are not 100%. Okay, so we'll talk about what kind of pendulum to use. Use a small brass or wood pendulum to begin with. I like the Egyptian design. This one's called an Isis pendulum. Another good one is called a Nova pendulum, again in brass. It's a lovely weight, it's well balanced, and it gives a nice response. Some people like a more elongated pendulum, such as the again an Egyptian style called the Karnak pendulum. And being very, very pointed, it can be useful, especially if you're doing chart dowsing, which we'll talk about in a moment. There's another one here called the Atlantis pendulum, because it's got this symbol on, which is attributed to the lost civilization of Atlantis. But again, it's a nice weight, it's well balanced, and it comes to a little point there. So they're very, very good pendulums to begin with. Chart dowsing. If you're doing chart dowsing, it may be something that is easier to do than just holding the pendulum in the air in the beginning. Ideally, you will want to use both chart and swing by positive and negative swing, but there are books of charts to enable you to hold the pendulum over a chart book. Sorry, that's upside down. And you can make it simply by getting a piece of paper, writing neutral in the middle, do a line to the side with yes, a line to the other side with no, hold the pendulum over the centre of it, swing it slightly to get it moving, and then ask, please indicate my yes response. The pendulum should then deviate and point to the yes on the piece of paper that you've written, and then do the same with no, and you should find it going off into the other direction. Traditionally, yes is always written on the non-dominant hand side. So I'm right-handed, so my yes would be on the left segment of the chart, and no on the right. Okay, so that's just a little bit about chart dowsing. There are chart books. This one is by Dale Olson, and it's full of useful pendulum charts, and I'll talk about those in a moment. Okay, so another useful exercise for the beginner dowser is to look for the polarity of objects. I've just picked up this pen, and what you do is you just take your pendulum and you hold it over one side of the pen or the object. And you don't need to ask a question, just observe the way the pendulum moves. And this is giving me a no response, so I know that this side is energetically negative. Turn the pen round, and what you should get is the opposite of the response that you've just obtained. There we go. So we know this is positive anyway because there's only two. So do that with different objects, different pens. Hold it over one side. That's positive. And that's negative. Use batteries, so they have a very obvious positive end and a negative end, and see if your pendulum will give you the appropriate response. That's a really very good exercise to get your dowsing response built up and working for you. Okay, so we come to pendulum charts. Another very good question that was raised in my group was somebody who wanted to build up their collection of pendulum charts. So you're starting from scratch. What would be the pendulum charts that you must have as a beginner? So I've written down here what I feel would be really important. The yes-no chart that I've just described. A Bovis chart, which is a chart of values, and they can be different ranges of values. They're called Bovis units, but don't get too hung up on what they are, because they are a level of energy. And I refer to this in the group. I have done a separate video on it, but you can obtain the energy value of your pendulum, again by holding it over the chart and asking the question, in this case, please indicate the Bovis value of this pendulum. And the pendulum will divert off and move to a value and make a note of that. And obviously higher energy items are really what you're looking for. In a pendulum, you're looking for a high vibrational pendulum because it'll do a wider range of things for you, especially if you want to go into the field of pendulum healing, pendulum manifestation, affirmations, and that sort of thing. So that's another aspect of pendulum dowsing. A colour chart would be very useful. So they can be circular or semicircular, and each segment will have a colour in it, including the invisible colours, which are infrared, ultraviolet, things that aren't actually visible colours. And you can obtain, with that chart, the energetic colour of your pendulum, which is another useful thing to have. Again, if you're going into the realm of healing, you want certain colours that align themselves with that use. So white and a force called negative green or grey, which is a mixture of black and white. These are very good colours to have, emitting from your pendulum. Violet is a good colour, and blue, or what we call blue-green or turquoise, which is the colour of vitality. And especially if you obtain a Egyptian-style pendulum, test it out for its colour, because you would not want to use a pendulum like this if it's signified black. Don't use any pendulum that has black as its energetic colour. A percentage chart is also very useful because you can ask questions such as show me the degree of accuracy that my dowsing faculty has today, and find out it should be 100% or near 100%. And you can find out the degree to which a pendulum will help you, or a colour will help you, or a remedy will help you, such as a flower essence or something like that. So I can talk more about this. Again, I don't want to be diverted because I'm running out of time. But a percentage chart is very useful. I also like a percentage chart, and I've made them using a chart maker that's free online called subtil.net. I like my charts to go a little over 100%, so I do the segments to 100% and then 110, 20, 30, and taking it up to about 150%, because there are occasions where you want to pick up those very high energy aspects of what you're doing, and it may go over 100%. So that's a little tip there. And another chart which is very, very useful is a chart with the segments of remedies. The flower remedies are very good, such as the Bach flower remedies. And it's really a fun thing to do, to obtain a flower remedy chart and hold it over the chart and ask, please indicate the most appropriate flower essence for me just now. And you'll see the pendulum move along the segment of the chart, and then you can check the properties of that particular remedy and see how well they fit with your own mental or emotional state, and you can do that for other people as well. So I'm now running out of time. I think I've got all the main points in. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments section, and I'll do my very best to answer them. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.